Well, guys, thank you. Today, it is the Sean Inspires podcast. I am Sean Allen, your life coach and podcast host. And today, this segment is going to be powerful. So, for everyone who's listening, make sure that you have a recording device, a notebook, an ink pen, because I have a special guest sitting in, and this was strategically timed and planned. So, it's summer. We're in that time of transformation, and he is a great vessel and expert of that work. So here we are today, guys. I have sitting with me Bob Doyle, is best known as a featured expert in the film and book The Secret. He now focuses his coaching and training on neuroplasticity and your ability to rewire your brain so that you literally become the person who creates the results you want in life without having to adopt any unusual belief systems. So, Bob, thank you for your time today. We're so glad to have you here on the Sean Inspires show. If you could just share with the audience and introduce yourself. Now I open up the floor to you as we go into the segment. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much. How much did you want me to introduce myself? Because, boy, I could just start talking and you wouldn't get a word in edgewise. Or I could just say, hi, it's great to be here.
Well, we would accept that. Absolutely. We would accept that as well. So let's just get right into the interview. I would like to know, The Secret had such great success and is still experiencing phenomenal success of all of the treasure. I like to call it a treasure and the wisdom that is comprised in that great production of the book and the documentary that's aired. What was it like, if we can start here, what was it like being a part of that collaborative work in the work of The Secret? Just share with us, for the listening audience, what that
Sure.
work was like for you.
Well, it was particularly interesting because I didn't really consider myself in the personal development industry. My background was in broadcasting, and then I, through a series of events, I stumbled into the law of attraction and started sharing it online. And then I kind of made a decision that I'd like to do more than just share. I'd like to facilitate. I'd like to really be an expert and help people to make this transition. So that's how I got into the law of attraction conversation. And so that my program that I had out there was out there for about 3 years. And that's how I was found to be in The Secret. So, when it happened, nobody really knew for sure, except if you asked Rhonda Byrne how big it was going to be or whether it was going to be well received. So it was just kind of like another interview that I had to go fly for. And I sat in a really hot hotel room because we had to turn off the air conditioner so the microphone wouldn't pick it up. And I sat on a green screen for, 3 hours or so and was asked a bunch of questions. And that's how they did the whole movie. They just flew around and interviewed people in different cities. So that part of it was just a kind of an exciting new thing. But of course, when it hit and became what it did, that was, of course, a game changer on many levels, personally, professionally, and all sorts of things. Because, and while you would think that it would be a totally only positive thing for someone in my position to suddenly be seen by millions of people, and wow, I was just doing this program, and then bam, and of course that was great, but it also created something of a personal internal crisis for me because I had this idea that there was an expectation that I should be kind of like these other people who've been in the industry forever, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Marcy Shimoff, doing, well known. And I really wasn't that. And basically, I'm just a goofball. I got into broadcasting to do voices and characters and just be silly. So I thought, well, gosh, I don't think I can be that in this conversation. So it was a couple of years of trying to find who I really wanted to be in the conversation, because pre-Secret, I was just me. It was fun. I just wrote. It was effortless. It became more of an effort, actually, after The Secret because of its popularity, so many people knowing, and so many questions and misperceptions. And so my career changed from being about enthusiastically teaching about the ins and outs of the law of attraction and how it worked and how to implement it, to dispelling a bunch of myths and dealing with angry people who wanted to just debate and that kind of stuff. So it was an interesting ride.
It was an interesting ride. And on the flip side, we're going to look at it from an optimistic perspective. You were a part of a team of creatives, vessels that impact so many people all across the globe. Even myself was a recipient of that work. And now here today, through the scope of time, I have here sitting in with us today. So I want to applaud you while you're here, because that work was a work that was seeded in my life, that seed planting of transformation at that time was the building block for currently who Sean Inspires is in the work that I'm currently doing. So if I could applaud you right now while I have you with us, I would like to take the time to do that. So thank you. Against all of the ones that tried to basically question and attack, today know that you have someone that you have been a positive impact in my life and inspiration. So let's go a little bit further. I want to dive into your interest and study regarding neuroplasticity. And I want to talk about this because I was recently, I logged into a Go Live that Maria Shriver was hosting with Tony Robbins. And he mentioned a little bit about neuroplasticity. He was talking about his new book. And I know you and I had scheduled you to be on the show today, and nothing is by coincidence, but I believe that it is all in sync. So if you could share with the listening audience, and let's unpack it in such a way that they will be able to apply this, as you mentioned in your bio, being able to attain results and produce things in their life without going into some unusual belief system. So if you could, one, share with the audience, what is neuroplasticity and what does that work look like?
Sure. So neuroplasticity is simply our ability to change our brain. So our all of our behavior is guided by our brain, right? We make meaning out of a situation, and depending on that meaning, we assess what we should do next or not do next. And whatever action we take, that gives us a result. And that result basically is our life. Our life is a series of results we're getting, our experience of life. So if we're not enjoying our experience of life, the series of results we're getting, if we're not feeling happy, if we're not feeling joy, etc., we can always trace it back to our wiring and how we're processing information, how we're making meaning, and then what action we're taking out of that. So and everybody who has a human brain can do it. There's no, like you mentioned, you don't have to believe in anything. It just simply is how our brain works, and no one's debating it. The challenge with the law of attraction conversation, Sean, was that there was so much to debate. And so many questions, energy, vibration, resonance and resistance and vision boards and all these different techniques and processes and beliefs. I got to believe. And, no, I had a negative thought. All of that just clouds it. And it is not what results in transformation. The tools, the law of attraction tools that people know about, vision boards, all of that stuff, they're valid tools in the rewiring process. But what too many people were doing was just visualizing, which is the essential first step, but then not following through with their part in the action. And it's not just action, it's action in alignment with who you need to be to have those results. Too many people wanted their entire lives to change when they didn't have to change anything. They just wanted the universe to rearrange itself around them. And that's the idea that a lot of people got after watching The Secret, that's what all you had to do was visualize it, and really feel it, and then all this would change. But there's really no logic to that, and it's not how it works. We are an extension of the universe. We're not separate from it. So, the universe is acting through us to experience itself. And we're born with this brain, which can literally be programmed, to use, just a common reference, where we get programmed from the time we are out of the womb with the belief systems and ideas and attitudes of those around us. We don't have the ability.
If you can say that for me again,
Yes.
I would like for you to say that piece again, because there are so many people that have developed, whether it's workplace social connections, friend connections, that are not the best and the healthiest. So if you can repeat that again, I really want the listening audience to get that piece because it's powerful.
Well, it really starts. So we're out of the womb, 0 to 7, our brain is wide open. We're saying yes to everything. So if our parents are telling us that rich people are evil, or that money's hard to come by, or that kind of stuff doesn't happen to our family and those people are jerks or whatever, if that's what we're hearing, that's all we know. That's all we know. And we have all the evidence we need to support it, because we're going to act in alignment with that. Our parents, our environment is going to keep providing that evidence. So that first 7 years becomes our truth, our basis for truth. And everything we learn after that, we compare against that basic truth. So for the most part, Our foundation of truth wasn't even our truth. It was somebody else's. And if it was limiting or any of that, that's going to affect you until you wake up and realize that it's just programming. You got wired that way because you got the same information over and over. And if you give yourself new information over and over, you will learn a new way of being.
I have to pause because it's so amazing and it's so insightful. And I believe right now where we are in the world, this is why I believe it was so timely and strategic to have you on the show, because there's so much moving in the wind, in the airwaves, in media, in the news, on the radio. And I'm grateful for the community of podcasts that is spreading in so many different genres. And right now, there's so much focus. We just came out of May, which I've just found out myself that May has been categorized as mental, the month of mental illness awareness. And so I had a few people sort of kind of like you when you did the work of The Secret. I had a lot of people question and sort of kind of tag me. Well, you're an inspiration and you haven't said anything about mental illness. I said, I choose to take another stance. And I choose to take another stance because I want to talk about mental wellness. And so hearing now, and this is why I knew it was really important to connect with you, to really be a blessing and a channel of transformation to the listening audience in regards to this area of neuroplasticity. Because so many people now have gotten stuck in dysfunctional cycles of life. And as you mentioned, not being able to produce results and not fully understanding that you have the ability to rewire. If we can talk about rewiring and unpack that. So
Yes.
if you could for me, let's talk a little bit about the rewiring process and what the beginning work of that. We can't complete it all in this interview, but what that beginning work of rewiring would look like for those that are listening.
Yes. So first of all, I want to make clear that all we're talking about doing is learning. Okay, so we rewire our brain when we learn a new language, when we learn how to cook, when we develop a new, develop an exercise regimen that becomes a part of our lifestyle. We're constantly rewiring ourselves. So it's not an issue of, can I do this? You do it all the freaking time. So there's no room for doubting whether or not this will work, but people will do it anyway. But all we have to do is understand how, the very first step in this is to understand what autopilot wiring we have in place that is not serving us, that is disempowering us, that is causing us to stop taking action or take the wrong action on a consistent basis. And a lot of people don't see that, don't recognize it because they're in it. It's their truth. They don't think of it as a react. It just is the truth, right? But you can still look out in the world and see that other people see truth in different ways. They take different action. They make different meaning and they get different results. Why can't that happen for me? Because you're stuck in your version of truth that you need to unlearn. So if you want to learn a new truth, and it's just to create a new truth, you just have to define it. Why is this the truth I want? How will this serve me? What action will I take as a result? How will I be a more powerful version of myself if I believe this instead of all that other stuff that has kept me thinking small? And so again, it begins this process of just now you use your brain and your visualization powers to not ruminate over things that are going wrong or stress about the future and perpetuate that type of behavior, but instead to visualize yourself in your most empowered form, in your most empowered situation, being who you truly want to be, visualizing it over and over and over. Every chance you got, it's free of charge. And the more you do it and the more charged with emotion it is, the more the wiring, the chemistry in your brain, the biology takes hold and begins the rewiring process. But you can't just keep flip-flopping. It's not like you meditate 30 minutes and visualize yourself in the morning and then the rest of the day you just go right back to your old autopilot behavior. You have to catch your autopilot behavior when it happens and then replace it with more empowering behavior. And that's the work I do, is help people identify that autopilot wiring and then replace it with something that's going to get them where they want to go.
And so if I'm understanding clearly, we all have the ability to rewire wherever we are at this time or whatever season we are in our life, to undo what has not been done correctly so that you can produce results in your life that are lasting. but it's a collaborative work. And what I'm also hearing as you're sharing this is so powerful that we're able to work together in this way is I'm hearing a level of consistency, that there must be a level of consistency to do the work, right? It's not, as you mentioned today, switch on, switch off. No,
Yep.
it has to become ingrained in the very inner parts and inner workings of who you are. And so
just like your current belief systems are. This is what we're not talking about. I just want people to understand. We're not talking about doing something new. You are having a conversation with yourself 24/7. Unconsciously, on subconscious levels, all of those belief systems, whether they're serving you or not, it's a constant conversation. So you are perpetuating your wiring on an ongoing basis unless you interrupt it intentionally, which we have the ability to do. But here's the trick, man. It's not that easy because you've got a whole lifetime of wiring with all the evidence that you need to justify it. But it's not true, but you can justify it with your evidence. You have to be willing to stop justifying it. You have to be willing to tell new stories. You have to be willing to be wildly uncomfortable, because that's what growth is. When you learn a new language and you don't understand it at first, it's uncomfortable. You make a ton of mistakes. You get feedback and you go, oh, I'm just not getting it. I'm just not getting it. But if it's non-negotiable enough, you continue until you get it. And now it's wired in you and you are a Spanish speaker. That's how we learn everything. But somehow when it comes to personal development, we don't want that level of discomfort, because we've been told that, oh, it's so easy, you just visualize or whatever, it'll just take whatever the guru says, 7 days, 31 days. We don't know how long it's going to take to rewire you, but we can tell you what behavior you need to adopt to start the rewiring process and continue it.
I think that's absolutely amazing. And so as we are working here today together in through the airwaves, for the individual that really may have heard, like I heard in an interview session or now in conversation, personal development and interested, fully interested now, that may have a little bit of fear, how would we go about dismantling, if we could drop a golden nugget for those individuals listening, how could we help them dismantle any fear about stepping forward and proactively engaging and connecting in the work to begin the rewiring process?
We've demonized the feeling that we call fear. And because of it, and because of how we've defined it, we want to avoid it at all costs. We think it's going to, but everybody who inspires you, who is kind of where you want to be, or at least inspires you to be bigger, took a journey. And I'll bet you they were scared too. It is, but fear just means you are intensely up against your wiring. You don't know what's going to happen next. And so that's a normal response, but it's not designed to stop you, right? It's just a response like, I don't know, I'm up against growth now, so let's go forward. People are so afraid of making a mistake, right? What if I do the wrong thing? Good, get it out of the way and then do the wrong thing 1,000 more times so you can figure out what the right thing is. That's how every invention on the planet is made. If the inventor of the iPhone tried twice or 100 times and it didn't work and said, well, I guess the universe doesn't want it for me, we'd have nothing. It is an iteration process. Learning is iteration, and it involves feedback. It involves ups and downs and the whole journey. And the journey is what makes the whole thing so sweet. If you just woke up with everything you had tomorrow, a couple of things would happen. It'd be great at first. You'd be like, yay. But now how are you going to maintain that? You're not the person that created it. It just magically appeared. So how are you going to sustain it? You're not. You don't know how. You're not that person. You wire yourself to be that person, and then you will attract, if you will, the stuff from the outside. But the stuff and the situation from the outside does not make you a different person.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely correct. And just last night, I was sitting with some members of my family, and a very dear friend was here visiting with the family. And we talked about that. And one of the things that I shared in that sitting circle was, what is the real quality of life if you have so many things, you have so much stuff, but you don't have any insight on what the quality of life and everyday living is all about? Then how are you moving about the world? And so to hear you share that and unpack it in such a way, I believe that the audience, for those that are really interested in stepping into that realm of work of neuroplasticity and rewiring and reprogramming themselves, because this is a great time. We're going to flip the switch here. Actually, this is a great time for those that are really seeking, who are thirsty for personal development and true transformation, that will last a lifetime. Today, I want to share with everyone that's listening. Today is a great day to take the first step. Bob is an international gentleman, well known, but to have him now here in your presence through the airwaves listening, this is an opportunity that may not come again. And so sometimes we have that once in a lifetime opportunity to step into that work of transformation so that you can produce lasting results for a life that is filled with joy, filled with peace, great health, and you're just rising from one pinnacle to the next. So if I may, Bob, in the work that you have been doing for such a long time, what has been one of your highest joys about doing the work that it is you do?
I think anytime I see somebody allow themselves to go for their passion, go for their dreams, when they've rationalized themselves out of it for a long time, I think that's what lights me up. Because what really drives me in all my work, whether it's teaching through law of attraction, whether it's doing some of the other creative stuff I do out in the world, whether it's neuroplasticity, what I am about is creative self-expression. I believe that if a person, a human being, does not express the creativity, whatever that looks like in them, that's when the problems start. That's when the resentment and the anger and the disease and the depression, because we're here born with this gift to create whatever life we want. We've got the brain to do it. We also we're born with these passions and interests. Now, sometimes they get buried, but they were there for a while. And if we had been born into a world that nurtured that, right, that we were always encouraged to follow those passions and let them evolve instead of judging them as irrational or not realistic early on and basically crushing a kid's dreams. And if we didn't take a bunch of these fully creative beings called children and then stick them in an education system which made them all the same and said, no, this is what you do, again, crushing their spirit, crushing their creativity, figuring, oh, I see, life can't just be what I want, it's got to be what they say. This is how we get this way. But we have to understand that there are people breaking these rules all the time and doing amazing things. So you got to be the rule breaker.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You got to be the rule breaker. And so I know we have shared a lot in such a short span of time. And the month of June, I am reaching now and doing a new segment. I started it last year called Fathers, Kings, and Leaders. And as a vessel, as you are of inspiration, transformation, and coaching, it's Father's Day coming up in the next couple of weekends. And so if you could, what would be one word of empowerment and inspiration for fathers that may listen into this segment that have a lot of questions about exactly what we're discussing today? What word of inspiration would you share with for those that are listening?
Well, it sounds so cliche and it's something that you hear people saying to kids. You can be whoever you want to be, right? And I've reached phases in my life as a father and just a human being that seem to be like turning points. There's a point where I go, hey, what's next? I've been doing this for a while, but I feel like there's something new. And maybe as a father, maybe that's a question, like, how do maybe you got a new vision for your fatherhood? I'm not sure. But as a man, every now and then they have these days that have you point at yourself, your birthday, Father's Day, etc. These are great times to assess, hey, am I really living up to the potential I want? What was my vision when I was 20? Am I anywhere near that? Could I get back on? What should empower anybody who's listening to this is the fact that you can make it happen. I don't know how long it's going to take. Yeah, there's going to be action to take. Yes, there will be discomfort. There's going to be the journey, but then you take it and then you get there and now you've got it. And then now you can keep going because see, here's the thing. We are constantly evolving. Your goals, your vision, that's always going to be out there because if you get attached to, I will be happy when this happens. And if you get attached to that, you can miss a lot of opportunities to bring even more joy and abundance in your life because that original goal is there to pull you through the journey. That's where the magic is. It's the journey. And the journey throughout that journey, as you grow and expand and realize that you're capable of more and more things, your vision will evolve. So you let it evolve. You let it get bigger. You let it get more empowering. You don't stay attached to this other thing, but a lot of people do that. So what I'm saying to fathers everywhere or men or however you want to look at it is if there is something in your life that you have been putting off or you just didn't think was possible, look at what it's costing you to not pursue it. Like, give yourself that little exercise of feeling, first of all, what could your life be like if it happened? No excuses, know how it got there. Like, picture yourself being that person. How does that feel? And this is the basic premise here of rewiring in general, is you're analyzing the gap of who is that person in that future vision being that I'm not. What behaviors do they exhibit that I could maybe start exhibiting today? Not when I get the stuff, not when I realize my dream, but right now, because that's how it happened. It's just the wake-up call. If you're a human being with a brain, this will work for you.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love that. And so we are at the now of the close of our interview today. So, Bob, if you could share with the listening audience how they may partner with you, how they may connect and work with you, if you could share with them that information, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So whenever I work with anybody, the first thing I do is I give them this quiz, which shows them what some of their autopilot wiring is. That way we can both say, okay, well, this is where we're going to start. This is our starting point. We're going to change this type of behavior and see what kind of new results you get. So anybody can take that quiz. It's free. It takes 1 minute, and it's at tptquiz.com. And that's a great entryway into the work that I do, because then you'll learn about how I work with people and learn about how I approach, rewiring and all of that. And then, of course, I have just a general website, meetbobdoyle.com, where you can find out all other things Bob. And the quiz is there as well.
Awesome, Bob. It has been an amazing time of you sharing here on the Sean Inspires Show. I thank you so much for your time. I thank you so much for your energy and the powerful information that you have shared with the listening audience today. And I salute you as a father. I didn't know that you're a father. So early wishes to you. Happy Father's Day, and continue to be a great father, as you have already been demonstrating that as the great vessel that you are to the world, and I'm sure to your children or to your child. So congratulations and happy Father's Day to you. And for the listening audience that's listening, the episode will be released today on all of the podcast outlets. We have iHeart, Spotify, Spriker, Apple, Google, Amazon. So please listen, even if you haven't subscribed to the Sean Inspires Show. Please feel free to download, subscribe, and also share with your community. As always, stay strong and be inspired. Thank you for tuning in for today's show. Sean Inspires. Have a good day now. Bye.